Hey everybody, welcome back. Today 5.4 standard form is coming your way. The last two lessons we've talked about point slope form, we've talked about slope intercept form. Today we're moving on to standard form. Let's get going. And we are going to be writing an equation of a line using standard form. But first, we have to figure out what standard form is. So please write this down. I do want you to note that this is standard form. All right. So when you look at standard form, it is going to be ax plus by equals c. The one thing I want you to note that it is going to be a and b here at the very end. They are not both 0. Okay, one can be 0 or the other one. So A can be 0 and B is not, or B can be 0 and A is not. They both cannot be 0 at the same time, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. So when looking at this, it's ax plus by equals c. I'll just write that right at the very top of this page. Ax plus by equals c. And that's going to be standard form. Now, when we look at this, we are going to be writing the equation in standard form, but this right here is the importance of it. Integer coefficients. And the reason why that is important is because we need to know what is an integer coefficient. So when we look at integer coefficients, we are looking for what is an integer. Well, that's going to be a positive or negative whole number. And we are looking for coefficients, which is the number in front of your variable. Okay? So this very first one, we want to put y equals negative 4x minus 8 into ax plus by form. That means the x and the y have to be on the exact same side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4x to both sides. And my equation becomes 4x plus y equals a negative 8. Notice that it is x and y are on both the same sides. The x comes before the y and our negative 8 on the other side of the equal sign. And I'm done. Are both 4 and my coefficient here is going to be 1. Are 4 and 1 integers? Absolutely. So I know I am done. Next one, let's deal with one where we may not have an integer coefficient. Okay, the very first thing I want to do before I even start, before I finish, I want to make sure I have standard form. So I'm going to add half x on both sides because I want x and y on the exact same side because that's standard form. So now I have half x plus y equals 7. And notice, if you look at half, 1/2, that is not an integer. It is a coefficient, but it's not an integer. It's not a positive or negative whole number. So the way we get rid of that half is we're going to take this entire problem and using the multiplication property, we're going to multiply it by the denominator. Notice we have the denominator of 2 here, so we're going to multiply it by 2 altogether. So we need to distribute this 2 to everything inside the equation. So 2 times half equals 1. I have 1x plus 2 times 1 is 2. 2y equals 14. I distributed that 2 to everything inside those parentheses, multiplied the entire equation by 2, and I have integer coefficients. Perfecto! Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you try a couple. So, write this one down and see how you do. Pause now. All right, here we go. So the very first thing is I want to get it into standard form. Ax plus by equals c. Notice on these directions, it asks to write the equation in standard form with integer coefficients. I'm going to bring this on this first equation, y equals 2/3 x plus 4. I want the x and the y on the same side. Subtract 2/3 x on both sides. Okay. And I am now going to have negative 2/3 x plus y is equal to 4. Now, why do I have negative 2/3 x plus y? That's because in standard form, x comes before y. All right? So now, do I have all integer coefficients? The answer is no. Okay, if you notice, negative 2/3 is not an integer. So we're going to multiply everything by what? 3. That's my denominator there. So I take 3 times 2/3, 3 times y, 3 times 4, and my overall answer is going to be negative 2x plus 3y equals 12. And I'm done. Okay, I brought the x over to the same side as the y, and I got integers for coefficients. Okay, and I am finished. That is in standard form with integer coefficients. Next one. Same idea. I want to bring my x's over to the y, so I subtract 2/5 x on both. Okay, minus 2/5 x. That is an x right there. Okay, so now on that left side, I now have negative 2/5 x plus y is equal to a negative 3. So I have my equation here. Do I have all integer coefficients? The answer is no. No, you're right. There is no integer coefficients. Sorry, there is not all integer coefficients. We have to multiply by my denominator, okay, which is 5. And now I now have negative 2x plus 5y equals a negative 15. How did I come up with that? Well, I simply just multiplied that 5 times everything inside the parentheses. All right, that's all it is. Let's move on. Okay, now the question is, again, you don't have to write this down because there's no yellow bar. Lucky you. Okay, so now we are going to be writing in standard form, an equation of the line passing through the point 3, negative 5, with a slope of negative 3 using integer coefficients. Okay, in this type of a problem, we have a point and we have a slope. Okay, how could we start this off? Well, when we've had a point and a slope in the past, we've used point slope form, and we just evolved and solved. Ooh, that rhymed. Evolved and solved. We evolved and solved and put it into the form that we are asked to put it into. Okay? So I'm going to use that same point slope form. What is point slope form? Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, plug in what we know. We know y minus a negative 5 is equal to a negative 3 times x minus 3. Okay, I plugged in those points, okay, because my y in this point is going to be negative 5, my x is 3, and my slope over here is 3. Sorry, negative 3. Okay, now all I'm going to do is simplify everything and solve for y. Okay, I bring this 5 over, and I now have y equals a negative 3x plus 4. Awesome. I distributed, then I subtracted the 5 on both sides, and now I'm in, what form is this? What form are we in? Slope intercept, the y equals mx plus b. Fantastic. So now what I'm going to do is, just like I did on the other two problems, I am going to bring my x's and my y's on the same side. Okay, and I'm going to put it in standard form. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides, and I now have 3x plus y is equal to 4. Is that in standard form? You betcha. Is that it? Does that have integer coefficients? Absolutely. Okay, so did I answer the question? You can bet your bottom dollar. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. I don't know if that really works. Okay, moving on. Enough of Mr. Sheeman's singing. So if you look at these, this problem, we started in point slope form at the very top. That's number 1. Okay, we actually solved and put it into slope intercept form. right here. That's second. And then we evolved that into and simplified it into standard form. That would be step 3. Okay, so we used all 3 forms in one problema. Okay, so I want you to try this next one on your own. Give this one a shot, see how you do. Make sure you write down the directions and try to solve. Okay, if something happens in the middle there, rewind and see what happened. Give this one a shot. Pause now. All right, let's rock this one out. Here we go. Standard form. An equation of a line passing through the point -4, 3 with a slope of -2 using integer coefficients. All right, here we go. We are given a point right here. We are given a slope right here. And we're going to plug it in. It now becomes y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Plug in the points we know. Okay, I know my point is -4, 3, so my y is going to be 3. My slope is a -2, as you can see up in the right corner. And my x, okay, is going to be minus -4. Holy buckets, Mr. Sheeman, what are you doing? You were putting different colors in. I apologize. That is not supposed to be different colors. That one was on accident. Okay. So now I'm just going to simply solve this. And I'm solving for y. So now I have y minus 3 is equal to a -2x. And notice that when we subtract, we add its opposite. So actually I take -2 times a +4, which is a -8. Okay. I then bring over this 3, which is by adding 3, and my equation of y equals a -2x minus 5 is what I have. Okay, now, is this in standard form? No, it is not. What is standard form? Remind me. Say it out loud. Let's say it all together. ax plus by equals c. I was really hoping you were saying that out loud. Okay, so now what we are going to do is I'm going to bring my x's on one side, x's and y's on one side and leave my numbers on the other. So I'm going to bring over this 2x here. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And my equation ends up as 2x plus y is equal to a -5. Now you can ask yourself, is that in standard form? You betcha. Does it have integer coefficients? Are 2 and 1 integer coefficients? You got it. Okay, so your answer in this equation in this form is going to be 2x plus y is equal to a -5. All right? Sweet. Moving on. Okay, so now we have a line that intersects the axis at 4, 0 and 0, 3. We're going to write this in standard form. All right? So now, if you look at this problem, how can we do this? We are not given a slope. We are given 2 points. How could you figure that out? Well, we would figure out it by figuring out the slope. Okay, so if I look at this, I'm going to figure out my 3 minus 0 at the top, 0 minus 4 on the bottom, because remember you have your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find the slope, and we have a -3/4. Okay, when we have a -3/4 as our slope, there's one of 2 ways we can do this. Okay, the first way is we pick one of those points, just like we have in point slope form, and that will work. All right, so I'm going to show you that one, and then I'll show you a little shortcut right after it. Okay, so when I look at this, I am going to take my point slope form of y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, and I plug in what I know. I plug in y minus, and I can pick either one of those points. It doesn't matter. So y, I'm going to start with the an easy one of y minus 3 is equal to a negative 3/4 times x minus 0. When I solve here, I now have y minus 3 is equal to a negative 3/4 x. Notice I know that negative 3/4 times 0 is 0. Okay, so I don't need to put that in there. Okay, from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I now have y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3. Okay, I'm now in my slope-intercept form. I need to put it into standard form. So I'm going to bring my x's together, x's and y's together, add 3/4 x. Okay, and I end up with 3/4 x plus y equals 3. So now you ask yourself, do I have, is it in standard form? Yes, I have ax plus by equals c. Do we have integer coefficients? And that's not quite, we don't have integer coefficients. So how do we get integer coefficients? We multiply by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply this entire thing by 4. And my answer is going to be 3x plus 4y equals 12. And I am done here. Now, that's my standard form, and I have integer coefficients. Now, there is a little bit of a shortcut, and we can actually, without using all of this stuff up top, okay, all of this stuff in red here, okay, we could actually skip to this middle step where we have slope-intercept. And the reason behind that is, once we have our slope, which we found as of negative 3/4, we can go back and the equation or the directions actually give us our b. What is our b? What does b stand for? Y-intercept. At y-intercept, our x is always 0. So look at those directions and see, is there a point where x is 0 and it gives us our y-intercept? Right here. Okay, so at this point, my m is equal to a negative 3/4, which we knew, and my b is going to be 3. So if I plug that into my y equals mx plus b, I have y equals a negative 3/4 x plus b, which is exactly this equation right here. We can skip that middle part, or that first half of the point slope form, if it gives you this equation. I only want you to do that if you are sure that you have your slope-intercept, or sorry, your y-intercept where x is 0. If you're not quite sure and you want to go back up and you're confident in your ability to use the point slope and adapt it to slope-intercept and then adapt it again to standard form, I want you to do that. But if you can notice the y-intercept, you might be able to shave off a few steps. All right, so try this next one on your own. So pause now, give this one a shot, and we'll see how you do. Rack it out. All right, so here we have a line that intersects the axis at 2, 0 and at 0, 5. We are going to write an equation of the line using standard form. So the very first thing is, in every situation, we need to have the slope. So, do we have the slope in this equation? No, but we can find it. Okay, and the way we find it is to use our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula. Okay, so now we have 5 minus 0 over 0 minus 2, and our answer is 5 over negative 2. So when we look at this, my slope is now 5 over negative 2. Now I have my slope, I have a point, and I'm going to plug those in. Okay, again, doesn't matter which point you use. You could use 2, 0 or 0, 5, and it will both come out to be the exact same answer if used correctly. Okay, so I'm going to plug that into my point slope form of y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, and that's going to be y minus 5 is equal to m, which is 5 over 2. It's a negative 5 over 2 times x minus 0. Going to simplify here. Negative 5 over 2x. And bring my 5 over to both sides. And I'm at y is equal to negative 5 over 2 x plus 5. Oop, forgot to add 5 on both sides here. Okay, so now I'm in slope-intercept form. I want to put this into standard form. What is standard form? That is ax plus by equals c. So I need to bring my x's to that left. Add 5 over 2 to both sides. 5 over 2x. And I now have 5 over 2 x plus y equals 5. All right, am I done? No, I'm not done. Don't forget, the last part of our directions is use integer coefficients. Okay, so when I do that, I need to take all of this and multiply it by my denominator, which is 2. Okay, so now I have 5x plus 2y equals 10. Ooh, forgot my plus sign right there. Okay, so here is my answer. If you wanted to skip that entire beginning and you started right here, if you notice that you had, it gave you your y-intercept at 0, 5, excellent. And you started right there, perfect. You took a few extra steps off your work, that's great. Okay, if you didn't and you came up with the correct answer, also fantastic. Okay, any way that you can come up with the correct answer, I am all for. All right, last note. This is your last note of the day. We're going to write an equation in standard form. Okay, so pause now, write this down. Yes, I want you to write the graph, and we are going to talk about it. So pause now. All right, so now when we look at this, okay, we've talked about vertical lines, we've talked about horizontal lines before. Okay, so if I look at this very first one on the left, I'm going to do this one as 1, this one is 2. If I look at this vertical line, what is every single x going to be? -2. What my y will change, right? But my x never changes. So my equation is just like my equation on a vertical line, as it has been in the past. X equals a -2. Now, is that in standard form? Yes, it is. And the reason behind that is, remember way back when you wrote down that first slide about ax plus by equals c. We said that a and b can, both of them at the same time cannot be 0. But in this equation, that b, the b portion of it is 0. So this is technically x plus 0y is equal to -2. Okay, we don't need that 0y in there. So since b is 0, we can just plug it in as x equals a -2. Try the second one on your own. See what you come up with. Okay, so the second one, we have the equation is y equals 4. Again, at every single point on that graph, y is going to be equal to 4. You could go here, you could go here, you could go here. Every single point. It doesn't matter where you put a point on that graph line, it is always going to be at y equals 4. So because of that, our equation is y equals 4. Question to you, is it in standard form? You betcha. You betcha, okay? Why is that in standard form? Because a is 0. It's like saying 0x plus 1y equals 4. It's the exact same thing. We just don't need to put the 0x. Okay? that's the last note of the day. I know that video was a little bit longer than normal. I apologize for that, but there's a lot of things going on. All right, so here is your homework. Give this one a shot, or give these problems a shot. If you have any questions, email me. Put a message up. You can just come into class and ask me, okay? However you need help, let me know, and so I can get it. Just remember, you're going to be dealing with 3 equations. You're going to be dealing with y equals mx plus b. You're going to be dealing with y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And now our new formula today, I'm going to put in red, ax plus by equals c. And once you have one, you can use all 3 of them. So once you have a point, once you have a slope, or once you have 2 points, you can use that information and adapt them to each form. All right, have a great day. I will see you soon.